Hello again, everybody. Counterintuitive a little bit. We're going to talk now about the sinfulness of humanity and why that truth, that doctrine, or how we can talk about that in such a way that will maybe open people up to a conversation about God's goodness and His provision for our ultimate need. It doesn't do much good. I shouldn't say that. It perhaps will be more helpful to frame the good news with the bad news of our sin. It's not fashionable to talk about sin. We might use words like broken. But the Bible uses other words describing our relationship with God and with each other. And everybody sees this in other people. We're very, very quick to point out other people's sins, other people's failures. We all recognize it in other people and in the world, that the world is indeed broken, deeply broken. Throughout the prophets in the Old Testament, there are cries, in the prophets for God to intervene and to bring justice, for God to intervene and to make things right in the world. God's people were suffering. The Psalms are filled with the psalmists saying, God did everything that you said, and I don't see you anywhere. So we see this brokenness. We see the lostness of the world and of other people very, very clearly. And so that's a way in, I think, to conversation about the sinfulness of humanity, that I am every bit as much in need of God's provision for salvation as the people that I see. The people on the other side of whatever issues might be troubling me, I am every bit as much in position to need God's help as other people. Other people's sin, I can't just leave it out there. I am in need of this. This may be opening our other people's eyes to it in themselves is a way into conversation about why the Bible's testimony, to review for a bit, why the Bible's testimony about who I am can be trusted, why Jesus has uniquely, as God's own Son, remedied the situation once and for all and forever. So if humanity was basically good, this is what Paul says in his letters. He says, if humanity was basically good, if I could get to where God is by virtue of my own actions, there was no need for Christ to die. But there was a need for Christ to die. And other people would say, well, yeah, Christ died for those really bad people out there. He died for them. And dear friends, there is no them. There's only us. We, all people, have sinned. In Paul's letter to the Romans, in chapter 3, he says, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. That's God's standard, glory, perfection. And I can't get there. I can't ever achieve enough. I can't obey enough. I can't believe enough. I don't have to. We will continue to talk in these upcoming videos about what God has done in the face of that need. But the starting point is the need. The starting point is, I need to be made alive. In Paul's letter to the Ephesians, in chapter 2, he says that we are dead in our trespasses and sins. And so dead people you can't do resuscitation on a corpse. We need to be made alive. The only one who can make us alive is God, on the virtue of what his Son Christ has already done. So maybe the way into conversation about the sinfulness of humanity is to help people recognize it in themselves. I think a lot of people, in my conversations with them, they recognize their own brokenness, their own failures, their flaws. And so leveraging guilt on people, I think, is not the best way to go. But starting with maybe a conversation about recognizing what's going on out there, and then bringing it home. Hey, do you see what's going on there? Do you see that? Have you ever failed somebody? Have you ever been dishonest? Have you ever broken a promise? Have you ever done something that you knew in your heart to be wrong. The testimony of your conscience. We can't escape those things. And so that might be a way into conversation, is seeing the failures in the world, the sin in the world, and then maybe helping people to see it in themselves is a way that these doctrines, these essentials, can be helpful in framing the good news. The good news, of course, the gospel is the good news that God has entered into the creation in the person of his Son, and that entrance into the world satisfied forever God's expectations in a way that never needs to be repeated. This is the clear testimony of Scripture. It's why we celebrate Christmas. I love the hymns of Christmas. I mentioned it with my friend Christian on the 10 before here recently, but I love the hymns of Christmas. O Holy Night is one of my favorites because of the theology of that hymn, and it says this: long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. The world, I am in the world. I am a part of the world. I live in the world that God has made, and I was in sin and in error pining. Pining means longing, yearning, hoping for something to be different. And it can be because of what Christ has done. So I leave you with that this evening. I'm grateful for you. Be safe, be kind to each other, and we hope to see you again real soon.